At long last, we come to the final chapter in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Return of the King. Now, we've all learned by now that not only do sequels tend to let us down, but third-parters are especially cursed with disappointment. Luckily, The Return of the King is neither, living up to the high standards of its predecessors and capping off the trilogy with an immensely satisfying conclusion. The story picks up shortly after The Two Towers, with hobbits Frodo and Sam being led by the creature Gollum to Mount Doom with the intent to destroy the One Ring and vanquish the Dark Lord Sauron. However, after being obsessed with the ring for so long, Gollum comes up with a treacherous plan to take it back for himself. Meanwhile, the rest of the Fellowship must contend with Sauron's vast armies laying siege to the kingdom of Gondor. Their only hope is for the race of men to unite under one banner, which means that the exiled ranger Aragorn must come out of hiding and take his rightful place as king. You can see right from the get-go that this film is phenomenally set up. Watching it, you really get the sense that everything that we have seen up to this point has built to this. The alliances, victories, and losses all come into play here, with each of them being used to full dramatic effect without fighting for screen time. Much like the previous one, this movie has an overarching atmosphere of intense hopelessness, in which the valor of the heroes is all the more admirable and significant. Speaking of which, every single character goes through some kind of change or growth here in a way that is more prominent and noticeable than the previous films. Frodo realizes that he doesn't have to complete the quest alone. Sam takes charge and becomes one of the great heroes that he's heard about in his tales and songs. Legolas and Gimli learn to fully appreciate other races besides their own. The list just goes on. One of the most poignant arcs comes from my favorite character in the series, Aragorn. Slowly coming out of his exiled ranger persona over these 3 movies, he has gradually come to see the strength and honor in men that Boromir spoke of. Whether or not he ever wanted the power to rule, he demonstrated his kingly quality by fighting alongside the men of Rohan, willing to die as one of them and gaining their respect in the process. Now, acknowledging the men of Gondor and Rohan as his brothers, he is ready to fully accept his role as the king, earning his crown instead of it simply being given to him. Aragorn's arc, which spans the entire trilogy, is beautifully concluded here and more than earns its spot in the title. Another major strength that this movie has is its scale. The sheer scope of this one is more epic than both of its predecessors, with every battle having the devastating impact that you'd expect. It helps that the battles themselves are gorgeously shot and choreographed. The camera pans and flies around to show the entirety of the vast armies and creatures going at it. The heavenly musical score by Howard Shore also returns, continuing his themes from the previous movies while keeping things fresh with new compositions and making all of them much grander and more hard-hitting. Even in the midst of all this, the film never loses track of its story and characters, always keeping them in the forefront. In addition, the effects and costumes are still top-notch, all of them being well-made and intricately crafted. Each and every faction has its own unique look and manner of dress. This works in conjunction with the superb production design and magnificent locations. As far as I'm concerned, New Zealand is Middle-earth at this point, and the plethora of architectural wonders that are brought to life in the film is truly a marvel to witness. Can you really deny the splendor of Minas Tirith or the sinister scope of the Black Gate? However, none of this would matter if not for the outstanding performances. Every actor and actress here does a good job in this movie. There is not a single bad performance to be found. Viggo Mortensen masterfully transitions from the Ranger to the King, possessing inspiring nobility that makes him completely believable as a leader. Elijah Wood beautifully portrays the increasing desperation and exhaustion of Frodo without ever becoming a weak character. Sean Astin also deserves credit for making Sam a tough and loyal brother-in-arms while keeping the character's humble origins in mind. These 3 are backed up by an incredible ensemble cast. Ian McKellen, Bernard Hill, Hugo Weaving, David Wenham, John Noble, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, Carl Urban, Miranda Otto, Liv Tyler, Orlando Bloom, John Rhys Davies, and Andy Serkis all bring their A game, conveying the raw emotions that make this fantasy feel real. The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King is a triumph in filmmaking, capping off one of the greatest film trilogies of all time and bringing a new respect to the fantasy genre in the same way that its source material did. The characters and their changes are compelling and fleshed out. The music is downright divine in quality. The sets and costumes are rich with detail and culture. The camera work is breathtaking. The actors play their respective roles exceedingly well. The effects are fantastic. And the story is epic in scope without losing focus on what's important.